remember a guy named Art Cochrane when you were jumping?
Art Cochrane, there was two of them, two brothers, and they came up from Kamei, Irakuski, Idaho. They were good, very, very woodsy people. Yeah, they were top notch. Art was a big man, and they disappeared. I don't know what year after I left, maybe 48 or something like that. And then, of course, they went over to Asia to working for the CIA.
So there was two of them then? Just, there were two Cochranes?
Yes, there were two. One, Art was big, dude. He was a big, powerful fella, and his brother, well-built, wiry, but not as big as Art. Yeah. Now, if Art Cochrane had been at the fire in Helena, he would have said, "You son of a bitches, this is what we're going to do," and they would have done it right then and there. But and then there was we had several other foremen too, and they would have done that. The foreman they had in Helena, the jumper, Wag Dodge, was as nice a man as you've ever met. Gentle, quiet, religious, and very woodsy. That man knew more about fighting fires than I think anybody in the smoke jumper business. But I repeat, he was quiet and gentle, and his job was not in training. These people didn't know him at all. He took care of the trucks and the fire cache. This is out at 9 Mile. He also checked on me every day to see if I was working in the tool room, and I repeat, he wasn't part of the training at all. And these guys, I don't think, knew him. They didn't know who the hell he was. They probably had just seen him in passing a time or two. Yeah. And that, of course, is the problem, or the big share of the problem, was that if Art Cochrane had been there, he would have said, "This is what we're going to do," because what Wag Dodge did wasn't unusual. That we saw that, and people had been doing that in eastern Montana during fires for centuries, you know, and the Indians have been doing it as far as lighting a fire and maybe putting it out, or and waiting and getting into the coals and letting the fire go around. That wasn't unusual. But those young men didn't know him, didn't know who he was. They realized that that he was part of the business, but they didn't know him. Now, I knew him, and he was a very, very clever man, a very good man, but terribly quiet and gentle, and etc.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind me asking,
no, please do.
If you were going back to when you were 17 and got fired over the grouse, what happened that got you so quickly into the Army Air Corps? What was the sequence of events?
That's a good story. My friend Tom Murphy wanted to be a pilot, a flyer. And Tom asked me, he said, I want to get in cadets, Air Force cadets in the worst way. But he said, I don't want to take the test by myself. He said, would you take the test with the cadet test with me? And then he said, you don't have an obligation, you don't have to follow through with it. I said, you do that for a friend. So we went up and took the test, the cadet test. And then Tom said, you can't get in anyhow because you don't weigh enough. I was I think 126 pounds. No, I had to weigh 132, and I think I was about 125 pounds. He said, you can't get in anyhow because of your weight. He said, they won't accept you, as simple as that. Well, a person doesn't like to be told he can't do something. So we took the mental test and in Butte, And then we had to go to Great Falls up to Gore Field to take the physical. So we took the physical, and the last thing was being weighed. Well, I was in a big line, and when that line got almost up to this sergeant who was weighing people and everything and measuring, I just got out and went to the bathroom. And then I got in the line again at the end, and I did that again. I went to the bathroom. So finally came up, it was about 15 minutes after 5. I was the last man in line, and that sergeant didn't even look up. He said, "How much do you weigh?" And I said, 134. "How tall are you?" And I said, 5'11", and he wrote it down. That was it. So I get a letter that I'm in the cadet program. Tom gets a letter that he didn't pass the mental test. So I was thinking of going in the Marines because they had rifles, but I'm in the cadet program now, and Tom joins the Marines. So he's with the 2nd Marines on Saipan, and when I go overseas. At any rate, I got down in Denver, Colorado, and they gave us what's called the M64 physical. And then a psychiatrist called me, and I knew he wasn't a regular doctor right now. He said, "You've been sick, haven't you?" I said, "No, sir, I've never been sick in my life." "Well," he said, "I have proof right here on your weight." I said, "I lied about that." I said, "I've never been sick a day in my life." And he asked me why I lied about it, and I told him. And he said, "You never?" "No," I said, "I've never been sick or anything else." I said, "My partner wanted me to go along with him, and I did." And well, he said, "You're out of this." And I wound up in a little town in Tennessee, Tullahoma, and just as a private. And I went up and saw they had a big sign, they needed gunners, because machine gunners, 8th Air Force was eating them up just right now. And the 8th Air Force, there were, I don't know, 16 Air Forces, but the 8th Air Force had more men killed in World War II than the Marines did the whole time in World War II. So here's 1 out of 16 had more killed than the Marine Corps did in the whole war.
And this was in the European theater?
Yes. It was dreadful. And there was 3 or 4 different Air Forces there. But there was a shortage of machine gunners, so I signed up, and this doctor, this Air Force doctor on the little base on weighed me, and he said, "Well," he says, you can't pass the test." Well, I ate like mad, and the food was good, and I went back and I'd gained a pound, and he said, "You still don't weigh enough." And then the 3rd time he said, "If you want to go that bad," he said, "but somebody down the line is going to get you, and you'll have to fight it out from there." I said, "Okay." And he signed the papers, and I went to gunnery school, no problem, got through, and went up, and wound up in Great Bend, Kansas, with the old 19 Bomb Group when they brought them back to the States. That's Coleman Kelly's old outfit. And then just when we were leaving, shipping overseas, I got a call, and a doctor in Great Bend gave me a choice. He said I had to put on 10 pounds in, I don't know, 2 weeks, something like that, you know. I went over 2 weeks later, and the nurse said, or the receptionist said, "Well, no, he shipped out. He shipped out to Guam. But what can we do? Can I?" I said, "No." I said, "I knew him personally. I was just a visit." And when we got overseas to Guam, you know, here he walks by me, and he doesn't say hello or anything. He just nods his head, and I nod my head. Like we glared at each other. Let's put it that way. And but it was too late. You know, over there they were losing. Tail gunners, wherever you start shooting at an airplane, you wind up shooting the tail off. And tail gunners, I mean, we lost a lot of them.
What kind of an aircraft were you in?
B-29, and finest, I shouldn't say the finest, but the fastest, highest flying bomber in the world. It was